And welcome back to A View in the Press Box. Stephen Mixon with the Pine Belt News, joined as always by Glenn Dyer with 247 Sports. Here in our humble abodes, after a 2-1 series loss to Arkansas State for number 7 Southern Miss, the baseball team goes out there and drops the first game to the Red Wolves 8-5. They went on to win Saturday 7-1, and then lost this afternoon 5-2 to the Red Wolves to drop their first series since last season at Marshall, which was the last time this team has lost a Sun Belt series or a series in general. And really, and we're going to kind of break down each game and kind of break down the stats a little bit. But I mean, really, Glenn, I would say probably the worst this team has played. I mean, all season. I mean, especially in today and Friday's game. I mean, just kind of sloppy play all around, and just not competitive at bats. And overall, I guess before we get into the nitty gritty of everything, I would argue that was probably the worst we've seen this team all season.
Yeah, I mean, also credit to A-State. Coach Silva's done a good job there. Got some nice pieces, and those lefties are tough on us. Just too many strikeouts, empty swings, non-competitive at bats. You didn't get enough traffic because of all the strikeouts, so you're having to rely on those 2 and 3 run home runs, and those are going to not going to come in bushels by any means. And I thought, if you look across the stat lines, we're pretty close through all the games. I thought Arkansas State did a really good job of just taking advantage rather of errors that we made and some really huge timely home runs. So
no doubt.
Credit to them.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like every time Southern Miss was able to finally sort of break through, especially in today's game, they had 2 times in the 8th and I think it was the 7th and the 8th inning. They had runners in 2nd and 3rd with less than 2 outs, and both times they weren't even able to get the tying run across the plate. So, and the 7th inning was kind of like, if you want to sum up the weekend in one play with that, wild pitch that went off the backstop about 20 feet back to the catcher and got Urban out at the plate. I mean, that was just, if that sums up the weekend, Glenn, if that doesn't sum up the weekend, Glenn, I don't know what does.
Yeah, I mean, in conference play, against 2 of the best or better teams in the conference, you're on the road. Margins are extremely small. So, Southern didn't play clean enough.
Right.
So.
All right, I want to get into the games, just kind of break down each game. On Friday night, Southern Miss took that 3-0 lead in the top of the 3rd inning, thanks to a Joey Urban backside home run, which, by the way, I think all of Southern Miss's home runs this weekend were backside, by the way. I just wanted to make that point. Arkansas State tied it up in the bottom of the 4th, and it stayed that way all the way to the 7th inning until, credit to Arkansas State. They got 4 runs on Southern Miss's best pitcher out of the pen and Camden Sundstrom. I think when Sundstrom came in, Glenn, everybody was kind of like, well, he's going to, hold this down and USM, might get one here late. But, credit them, and 4 hits against a pitcher who really hasn't given up really anything all season.
No, he hadn't. But, pitchers aren't, are going to be hit and miss at times. You're never going to have your best stuff on every night. And It just happened at a really inopportune time for USM right there. That one little segment right there cost them that baseball game. Over the weekend, I think Southern only gave up 9 earned runs.
Right.
Their pitching staff. So, that's in most scenarios, that's good enough to win even on the road, so unearned runs and mistakes and inability to get big hits, for Southern Miss.
So Arkansas State finished that game out and won the opener 8-5. And then yesterday's game, kind of another slugfest, Gillespie backside homer to take a 2-0 lead, and it stayed that way all the way until the 6th. And Southern Miss was able to scratch across another one in the 6th inning, make it 3-0. And then Arkansas State added one in the 7th before really felt like Arkansas State's bullpen kind of just got away from them in the 9th inning and allowed 4 more runs to come across for Southern Miss. But that game was very close, and USM just couldn't really get anything going on offense at all against really any of their starting pitchers, which I'm going to read off their stats in a minute. But Southern Miss, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just say what saved him in that game was a tremendous start by Graydon Harris, and then the pen was clean after him all the way through. So
yeah,
huge, that's been the MO, for most of the season. Southern's offense really hadn't gotten going yet, and it was really, really empty this weekend.
Yeah. Another just phenomenal performance from Graydon Harris. 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, no earned runs. And then, like you said, Ock and Clark behind him, 3 innings pitched with just that one solo shot that Josh Ock gave up in the 7th inning. And then in today's game, and like you said, Glenn, really what did in today's game was the 3-run start of the inning. What I thought, and sometimes you get the call, sometimes you don't. But I thought McCarty threw a strike 3 pitch right there in the bottom of the first. Wasn't called, and it's baseball. You got to move on. But then what's unexcusable is 2 errors in the infield, one on Seth Smith and one on Kyle Morrison. Both of them would have gotten them out of the inning. You get 2 errors that score 2 runs, and then a wild pitch that gets past Lawson Odom for another run, 3 runs right there. And USM just couldn't ever really seem to get anything going. And then finally
chasing the whole game from that point on.
Right. And that was actually Arkansas State's first time to be in the lead that early. Arkansas State kind of came from behind in both the Friday and Saturday game because Southern Miss jumped out ahead. So that was the first time that Arkansas State jumped ahead. So I could tell Southern Miss was kind of pressing a little bit, especially from the plate when they got behind and realized they needed 3 runs. They were able to scratch across 1 in the 4th, another a homer by Urban in the 6th, and just it just wasn't ever any real threatening stuff, if that makes sense. And it wasn't threatening, of course, into that 7th and 8th inning. And I'm going to go through the plays right here. In the 7th inning, Higdon led off with a walk. Barrett struck out. Morrison doubled. And then they pinch hit Eubanks for Stelly. And Eubanks strikes out, and then Seth Smith flies out. So that was in the 7th. And that was, again, runners at 2nd and 3rd. You can make an argument that maybe you send Higdon there on that double from Morrison. It is what it is. He didn't do it. It is what it is. You would think you could just get one to the outfield to tie the game. And then in the 8th inning, Stockman grounds out. Urban walks. Russo singles. Gillespie gets hit by a pitch, so you have bases loaded with 1 out. Higdon strikes out. And then Urban, like we said, the wild pitch that gets past the catcher right back to him. To get Urban out at home. And really when that happened, Glenn, that was pretty much the game in today's game.
Yep. I mean, just couldn't take care of, when they made mistakes, we didn't, get the big hit. And to their credit, they did. A couple of huge home runs for them over the weekend and a couple of big doubles too. So, they took it. They won the game. I mean, they did what they needed to do, and Southern Miss just didn't. You got to play cleaner than that. You got to get – that lineup's got some – this weekend particularly had some empty spots in it. You pretty much relied on Gillespie and Urban to carry you for the weekend. That's just not going to get it. The DH spot's still, a big unsolved question mark.
Yeah. And I want to get into a really big offensive discussion here, Glenn. So that was kind of the recap of all 3 games. But here's some team totals, and then I want to get into some individual players. 225 overall batting average for the Golden Eagles over the weekend, 11 walks, 29 strikeouts. They were 6 for 23 with runners in scoring position. And like you said, Urban and Gillespie both, batted. Gillespie with 231, Urban with 250. Now Higdon was 400, but 4 for 10. He took a lot more walks than anybody else did. But outside of that, Glenn, it was bare minimum anything else for the rest of your lineup, and especially that bottom of the lineup. I mean, just awful. There's no way to sugarcoat it.
Yeah, just too many empty swings, man. Couldn't piece anything together. Couldn't ever have the big inning. And the strikeouts are kind of scary. I mean, that's not been a huge deal up until this point. So that's definitely, it hadn't been a trend, and it definitely doesn't need to be a trend. Just a ton of empty swings, and creating unproductive innings, quick innings. I saw guys chasing breaking balls a lot, right. Particularly out of the zone.
Yeah.
I guess, a lot of them, they just were fooled,
And I think Arkansas State has, good pitching. I mean,
yeah, I do too.
But I don't think that's the best pitching that Southern Miss has seen all season, and I think that's why I was convinced that Southern Miss was going to be able, when you see 3 lefties in the starting rotation, historically as a Southern Miss fan, you're like, ooh, I don't know about that. But for some reason, this group just to me feel different in the fact that they were going to be able to manage that better. And it seemed like the times that they were like what they were doing in the seventh, eighth, and ninth inning of today, where they were taking the pitches, taking the walks, getting the singles. Like, why weren't they doing that the whole game? Like, that's what doesn't make sense to me. Is like in the first 3 innings, you're swinging on the first pitch and grounding out to second base. And Arkansas State starter today was cruising through the first 5 innings. I think he was at like 50 pitches in the first 5 innings and only giving up like 2 hits. But then when they put in another guy, USM would have better plate presence when they went to the bullpen. And I don't know if that was because it's a significant drop off from the starter to the bullpen, but to me, Glenn, it was that they were pressing when they got down, especially today. But the whole weekend, I mean, it was very uncompetitive at bats, and these are guys you need to be good. Matthew Russo, 1 hit out of 11 at bats, so that's a 0.91 batting average over the weekend. I mean, you just can't have that out of your 2-hole. Dre Barrett, 3 hits, 13 at bats, 231. Stelly hasn't been doing anything. 1 hit out of 6 at bats, 167. Stockman didn't get a hit this weekend. I mean, these are guys who you need to be at least in the 250 mark. I mean, just get some of these guys hitting the baseball, but just none of them did.
Yeah, right now it's just not a very long lineup, for
Right.
a pitcher to have to navigate. It's very front heavy right now, and I feel bad for Matthew Russo. He's hit his whole career, but in that 2 spot, that's just a huge glaring issue there. In the DH, is still trying to figure that out. They take the shirt off Gray Eubanks, so I guess expect to see him, get some shots, over the course of the season. In the past, Southern's had a long enough lineup where that backside of the lineup has done a great job of turning over the lineup and setting things up for the front of the lineup. Right now, it's just they're not getting much anything in that backside.
No, they're not. And
or the middle, really, for that part this weekend.
I was going to say, really, this has been kind of the Urban Gillespie show. I mean,
yeah.
Of course.
Other than Kyle Morrison did a little bit, yeah. But just not enough guys having competitive at bats through the course of that lineup.
I think it's the fact for me of like, there's a lot of almost, I don't remember having this many like sure outs, if that makes sense. Like guys that like you kind of expect to get out, but it'd be nice to see them have a hit. Like I might have 4 people in that scenario right now, and that's including Russo. I mean, Russo, Stelly, Stockman, you could maybe even throw Dre Barrett in there, maybe. He's been having nice moments, but I mean, not what we're used to seeing from him. And when you look at the Sun Belt overall statistics, by the way, Southern Miss is 10th in batting average overall, which they have 175 hits, which if you do that math, they're 8th in the league. So, it's kind of a middle of the road Sun Belt batting team. Now, to be fair, they have faced incredible pitching to start the season. So I know that if they would have faced the North Alabamas and the Marists or whatever to start, that batting average would be better. But I just don't know what to think about it when you just look uncompetitive against what we think is an improved Arkansas State team. But this is not the best team in the Sun Belt you played this weekend.
Yeah, those to me weren't dominant lefties. They were crafty lefties, and again, I've heard many times crafty lefties are our kryptonite. Well, this weekend the guys that really carried us were the right-handed sticks. So
right.
Maybe that proved out to some extent. But I mean, if you look at the total picture, I mean, I'm not panicking by any means. We got good starting pitching, good bullpen. Just you're going to have to solve some issues with that lineup, and historically Southern's struggled offensively until, the weather kind of heats up. So I'm still kind of waiting for a Russo and a Stockman to catch fire. If just one of those guys gets going, it makes that lineup, longer.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like, there's really only 2 or 3 guys right now who are at least feeling competitive at the plate. And that's Urban, and Gillespie, and I think you can throw Higdon in there because I think Higdon really struggled to start, but I think he's been playing well over the past couple of weeks. I mean, it's been a lot more competitive at bats where he's getting to that 3-ball counts and hitting some fastballs into center field and stuff like that. 400 this weekend, so that is what it is. But I mean, outside of that, and then of course Morrison feels like he's a home run threat every time he gets up there. But you're right. I mean, if you could figure out your DH spot, which I don't know what they need to do with that because I can't remember a time ever where they pinch hit a DH like in this scenario. Like it's that much of a question mark where you're pinch hitting your DH.
Yeah. Your
I mean,
DH is usually a dude. So yeah.
I mean that is how struggling Ostrander has. A much of a struggle it is for Ostrander to figure out that position because just nobody's stepping up. And like you said, Gray Eubanks, it was nice to see him get his first ever hit yesterday and get that RBI, in the 9th inning and stuff. But that doesn't mean that he's going to be the starter for the next week or two. I wonder if a Braden Moranto can get an opportunity. I wonder. I think all the cards are on the option at this point. I mean, but the fact of the matter is that because I saw some people on social media saying that USM shouldn't have gotten all those pitchers in the portal and gotten another bat. Well, the bat that they got 2 bats, right? They got Morrison, who's been fine. There's nothing to me that's been complaining about Morrison so far. And Stelly, I think coming here, we thought he was going to be a, leadoff 300 type hitter who could, single his way almost every time and then maybe find some power once his back got healthy. But that's just not panned out, I think. And I think it's maybe, pardon the expression, a swing and a miss in the portal. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw that they got him, I saw career 300 hitter who's, able to approach double-digit home runs, can run a little bit, can give you a little juice. I thought for sure he could easily be, up the front of the lineup, kind of, impact bat. But, it's been far from that. I feel bad for him. He's a senior. I know it's, you start pressing, it seems to kind of snowball on you too over there. So it's tough.
Yeah. When you look at the pitching in the Sun Belt, now Southern Miss is number 1 in ERA at 2.72. Arkansas State, to their credit, is the second best pitching staff in the Sun Belt. And then Glenn, there's a huge drop off. Like I'm talking like 287 is Arkansas State's ERA. The next highest is Louisiana at a 4.40 ERA, and then it just like snowballs from there. The team they're playing this weekend is Troy. They're at a 5.40 team ERA. So I think that to me, because there's some comments saying that, how should we temper expectations? People are saying that in the comments. Is this team not as good as we thought? All these things. And I know people are going to jump off the wagon when Southern Miss loses a series, but I would say that the offense is not good right now, but I wouldn't be worried unless they do this weekend. Like if they do something, if they have a showing like this weekend against Troy, who has a 5.40 team ERA, that's to me is when I would start, maybe might hit the panic button. I'm not there yet because I'm with you that this kind of happens every year where Southern Miss struggles to hit, mid-March to early April, and then like mid-April on, they break home run records. But so it's not concerning yet. And I know who a guy like Matthew Russo is, and I know a guy like Tucker Stockman is. Like they're not gonna bat in the 100s the rest of the year, right?
Totally agree.
Russo is definitely going to come along eventually. That's why they don't pull him from the lineup. So they're 1 or 2 guys away from being probably the best lineup in the Sun Belt. It just hasn't panned out to that fruition yet. But you have to be at least good enough to beat an Arkansas State team on the road, I think. Like that to me is like the fine line. It's like I know that our expectation of them is probably a little too high this early in the season where, so that fans want something to win 10-0 every single game or whatever it is, and that's just not realistic in baseball. But even a bad day for this lineup should be beating Arkansas State on the road, I think. Like that's where I stand on it.
Yeah, I mean, they were in every game, even when they weren't hitting the baseball this weekend. It was just, like I said a minute ago, the margins were extremely small for us when we're not hitting the baseball, and we just, we didn't play clean enough. You had that one bad, inning out of the pen the first game, and then today, I mean, that's one of the worst starts to a baseball game I've seen in a long time. So yeah, I mean, you clean those up, they could have won all three of them. I mean, I know if ands and buts, but you know they
No, I mean I
if,
think you're
if
right.
you're not swinging it, there's just no room for error. Right
And
now.
and it's unrealistic to put that much pressure on the pitching has been so good, and you can't. This is kind of the problem that the 2022 team ran into sometimes. That the pitching was so good that sometimes you felt in the back of your head, it's like it's okay that they haven't really scored that much, but and then it kind of just came on all undone. And I hate to even mention this, but the Super Regional against Ole Miss, but but it just kind of came all undone when the pitching kind of was struggling against a hot Ole Miss lineup, and then the hitting couldn't hit. You know, I don't know why this just reminds me of that. Is where this pitching is so good, but you just can't expect them to be no earned runs every single game.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
just sitting here thinking and looking at the numbers. I mean, Arkansas State offensively kind of Southern missed us. They did what USM usually does to people.
yeah,
Those
yes.
timely big home runs, those timely doubles late. Um, you know, that's kind of who we've been the last couple of years, and just it wasn't there this weekend.
I wanted to have a pitching conversation real quickly. We're not going to go long tonight, just because who wants to talk long about those three games? It was kind of stinkers, all three of them. I think even the Saturday game wasn't even that impressive to me, Glenn, to be fully honest. But even though they won 7-1, but this is the discussion I want to have. Graydon Harris on Friday night, yes, no, Glenn.
Yeah, I mean, last three starts he's been electric once and better than good the last two. So I mean, you almost know, when he's gotten into the sixth inning, you almost know pretty much what you got, good to special, every time he takes the mound. He's grown so much. He's got so much more of an arsenal, and he's got command of it, and he looks extremely confident out there. So yeah, I mean, I totally get it.
If you're in the live stream, type in the comments yes or no to Graydon Harris being on Friday night, because I don't think it's a question anymore, and I don't think it's a knock to Colby Allen, because as much as people are ragging on Colby Allen, saying that he's not a starter and all these things, let me just say something about Colby Allen. His ERA is the lowest it's ever been in his career, number one, and he's just gotten some bad luck. Like I'll say, like I still don't think he's been pitching that bad. Now he's not missing barrels. They're barreling him up, especially his slider, pretty well. So I think he's still a starter, but I think at this point you got to put Graydon on Friday. I mean, you have to have a dominant performance on Friday night to get you going on the series. If the offense is if the offense is struggling right now, the game one is so important that you need a guy like Graydon Harris with how hot he is to be your Friday night guy. I think.
Yeah, I mean, with Colby, it's just you're just not getting as much swing and miss and chase on that slider, and
Yeah.
you're not, the sink on that on this sinking fastball. He's not getting the ground balls he usually gets out of those. Those are getting squared up a little bit more than I'm used to. So I'm still expect him to find his way, through that. You just I'd like to ask Coach Oz maybe at some point, is the change from starting to coming out of the pen and blowing and going for a couple innings, does it make that much of a difference? Or, maybe where's some of that tight bite on his slider and the sink on his fastball consistently, just seems like some minor things that create big issues for him right now.
Yeah, and his walks, like 3 walks on Friday night, like just not used to seeing that from him. His line on Friday was 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 3 walks, and just 3 strikeouts. So I think for a Friday night guy, you absolutely need that strikeout count to be higher. Now, to Arkansas State's credit, I thought they had a good plan against him. They didn't swing at the changeup, which, to be honest, he really didn't throw it that much on Friday, anyways. But they didn't swing at that changeup, and they barreled up his fastball. And to me, Glenn, and I've said this all season, it seems to me when Colby does not get that swing and miss, he kind of gets a little frustrated on the mound. And I think that affects his outing. And so with Graydon, 6 innings pitched, 6 hits, no earned runs, no walks, 4 strikeouts, he has the stuff to me that looks like what could be. Because even, last year in Middleton, and they don't have a Middleton on this staff, but to me, the closest guy to Middleton is Harris, and I really don't think it's close.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Yeah, I mean, I definitely get the argument for him to be the Friday guy. I'll be curious to see what the path forward is, for Oz with that.
You
I
don't
thought,
think they should move Colby? Because we've gotten some people in the chat saying they should put Colby back in the pen and do a Harris Crabtree English sort of thing.
well,
I don't know if I go that
I
far.
even thought about that. He's so good out of the pen. I'm trying to figure out, maybe what's the disconnect from, those pen stints to starting stints. I don't know. It's something you have to ask Coach Oz or Coach Leger about, give their thoughts on that, maybe what's created, some issues for him. I know Colby's not keeping the ball down in the zone as much, and he's not getting as much run,
Yep.
in late break on that slider. I'm used to him getting – I'm not so much worried about the strikeouts with him. It's the ground balls. I'm not used to seeing balls barreled up into the outfield. He usually induces a lot of ground balls with that sink. So.
No doubt. And one thing, the only problem, because the thing is, to me, the bullpen is so good that it's kind of interchangeable, if that makes sense, like past your Friday night guy. Like Graydon Harris, you want to go 6-7 innings, right? But like if Allen's out there starting and he goes 5 innings on Saturday, you have a good enough bullpen that you can still win the game. Like McCarty English today. If you in McCarty English today, 2 2/3 inning, historically you would have been like, they're probably, in which they did end up losing. But McCarty English is not the reason they lost the game.
No,
today.
he had some terrible luck in that first inning, and he was throwing 3 pitches, and they all looked good. With that split change was falling out of the zone. Man, his fastball was live up in the zone. He was getting a breaking ball going.
My point is, like, moving Allen back to the pen, I just wonder what type of moral does that affect him up here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's
really need to. Like,
it would take a lot of maturity, to mentally overcome it. But he is an extremely mature young man, so I'm not really worried about that. It's just, that's a tough one, man.
But I think the obvious answer to this discussion is that Graydon should be the Friday guy. Oh
yeah, I agree.
The argument then is, what do you do with Colby? Do you leave him as a starter? Which I think he's fine as a starter. Like I'm not on the argument to put him in the bullpen, because I just don't know. Like 5 innings for Colby Allen versus 5 innings for Crabtree, and then you bring Allen in for 5 innings after that. Like, I don't know if you're just interchangeabling that. Like, it doesn't really suit me to move him to the bullpen, if that makes sense, because you already have your closer in Camden Clark. You already have your 2 guys that you're using as Colby Allen's in Sundstrom and Ock. Like, so he wouldn't have that role that I think everybody thinks he would have.
No, I mean, out of the pen, is your consummate bridge guy, So, or, a guy that can come out and put a fire out real quick. He can do a lot of things out of the pen. I just think he's going to have to get in the bullpens with Leger and just try to figure it out.
I agree. This is the starting total numbers for the Golden Eagles this weekend: 13 2/3, 16 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 walks, and 9 strikeouts, which is an ERA of 3.29. The bullpen, 11 1/3 innings pitched, 10 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 walks, 13 strikeouts. That is an ERA of 5.56. Now, to be fair, that ERA was really influenced by the 4 runs that Sundstrom gave up. So, for the most part, that's still a very good, bullpen. From you gave up 4 of the 7 earned runs were from Sundstrom on Friday night. Let's just say that. So
yeah, I'm not worried about the pitching at all. You got plenty of pieces. You just got to figure out who fits best and where. I'm concerned about scoring runs.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. The bullpen to me was fine to win 3 games this weekend.
Sure, 3 earned runs a game is fine. Those are games you should win if you're swinging the bat.
Right.
And not making errors.
Yeah, and we've talked all season, about those errors, and 2 today cost them the game, arguably. And we all said, all season, is that going to cost them a game? And it did today. It cost them a rubber match. It cost them a series. Because I really think if Southern Miss, I really do believe if Southern Miss would have had a 2-0 lead, let's just say that Arkansas State doesn't score in the first and Southern Miss has that 2-0 lead in going into the 7th, they probably win. I don't think Arkansas State gets those 2 home runs. If that happens, I think they pitch differently there.
Yeah.
Maybe see a Clark come in, maybe even put Sundstrom back in. I don't know. I really think they pitch that differently. And I don't mind Crabtree. I'm just saying, in the 8th inning, when you need 4 outs at that point to win that
Yeah.
game, I think they
And
pitch
what's
that.
kind of lost in this is the job Cross did out of the pen too. Came in there and ate all those innings up in the middle. That was huge. If you win the game, we're probably talking about that a lot more. But that was nice.
What did you think about in the Friday game when they did take Cross out after 1 inning and put Sundstrom in? A lot of people on Twitter said they shouldn't have done that. I personally didn't have a problem with it just because nobody expected Sundstrom to give up 4 earned runs. So,
No, man, you're going to your house, man.
right.
I mean,
so I didn't have a problem with it, but I'm just curious to hear your thoughts on that.
no, man, that's hindsight's always going to be 2020, and you're going to this point. I know it's early, but your most reliable bullpen piece. You probably don't even second guess it.
Right, I agree. I totally agree. They just put 3 good swings on him. I mean, and really, he was 1 pitch away from getting out of the inning, and that was 2 out base clearing double, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I think he left a backdoor slider up in the zone a little bit, and to the guy's credit, he went out there and got it, man. So
yeah,
and
like really, Arkansas State's 9
big hits.
Yeah, Arkansas State's 9-hole hitter who was
Amundsen. My gosh.
Yeah, Amundsen. Yeah, that guy basically carried them all weekend. So
yeah, another Minnesota guy. They love playing down south. Yeah, he had pretty much done nothing up until this series, and the big home run in the first game, and then just several extra base hits. And I mean, he feasted on Southern Miss hitting. I don't know what adjustments he made during the week before this series, but whatever it is, keep doing it, kid.
Yeah. Well, I mean, good for Arkansas State. You got to give credit to them. I mean, I would say for most parts of the game, I thought you could at least. It looked to me at least that they wanted it. They wanted it even more at times than Southern Miss, and they played outstanding baseball. I was
impressed with their athleticism. They're more athletic than they've been in a while, and Coach Silva really uses it well and creates pressure on you. When they get on the base pass. So they're a nice little combo of some athleticism and some pop, man. So
yeah,
they could make some noise this year.
I agree. So yeah, I really think when you boil it down, pitching was fine. I mean, there were times where it could have been better, but it was fine for the most part. And then really, I mean, the biggest question about this team right now is the offense and what do they do in certain scenarios? Do you switch up the lineup? Like, do you move? Urban's fine. Do you move Russo down? I don't know what they do. Like I honestly don't know. I'm glad it's not my decision.
The problem is when you think about that, there's so many guys in that lineup who aren't hitting. You don't really have answers and solutions in terms of moving guys. Generally you're trying to find a guy that's hot and move him up. There's not really anybody hot right now, other than the aforementioned guys.
I would switch Morrison and Higdon. I would put Morrison in the 4-hole, but that's just what I would do. I don't really think that would hurt them in any way. But yeah, I agree with you. There's just too many guys not hitting that you really don't want to move anybody.
No, there's not an easy answer right now. Some of these guys are just going to hit their way out of it. You just hope it happens sooner than later.
Yes, no doubt. So a lot of questions and a lot of things to be answered over the next couple weeks. Southern Miss baseball now 15-4, 15-6. I'm losing my 16-4. Excuse me, 16-4. So it's kind of funny. It's just like out of everything, they're still sitting there at 16-4. I mean, it's only lost 4 games. Now, to be fair, this game was important because it was a conference game, and you're trying to win that regular season conference championship. And with the way Coastal's schedule lines up, I mean, dropping series like this is really going to hurt you down the stretch unless Coastal loses some games. They swept this weekend, so they start 3-0. Golden Eagles all the way down at 9th, obviously very early in the Sun Belt season at a 1-2 start on their young conference season. Troy this weekend, and look out because Nichols is coming, Glenn, on Tuesday night.
Yeah. On the coast.
Good old Nichols.
Yes.
Anything else, Glenn? I know didn't want to stay long because I know you needed to, you had some big speaking events to get to tonight for your Sunday evening. But
oh yeah, huge. No, just no time to panic. You just work out the kinks, man. Starting pitching's good, bullpen's really good. There may be some defensive issues throughout the season we're going to have to endure, but I always said, when you and I talked about that, I said we will just have to overcome it. We'll have to, make those go away with offensively, which I thought this lineup would be able to do, and I still expect them to do that at some point. You just got to get them going. You got to get guys going. So,
I agree. I think that's really all they can do at this point. And the only change I would make is I think there's now no question that Graydon Harris should be the Friday guy, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if Ostrander does it because he's just kind of weird on that, where he doesn't switch it a lot, which is why, and I always go back to this, but this is why I was so surprised when Adams threw against Columbia in the game 1 of the regional, just because they don't do that historically, where they pitch off and stuff like that. But I'll be interested to see if he does it. It's something that I definitely want to ask him, and say, is that in the cards right now? And I don't know if he'd answer or not, but I think it's something definitely to ask him. But all right, Nichols on Tuesday. We'll have a show on Thursday recapping the Nichols game and then previewing the Troy Trojans coming into town this weekend at the Pete. So a good time to bounce back for the Golden Eagles to come back home and try to go 3-1, 4-0 this week. It was a 2-2 week for the number 7 Golden Eagles. I don't know, Glenn. I don't really expect really much changes in the as far as top 25 rankings. They might slip a few spots, but that's 16-4. You lose a road series in a rubber match. I mean, I don't really know how much that hurts you, especially with an SEC midweek win on your resume again. So I don't think they'll drop. People were saying, they're going to go outside the top 25 now. Like, I just don't see that.
No.
Yeah. So, I mean, I expect them to be in the top 12 for sure. So,
yeah, I'll agree with that. They just, come home, lick your wounds, and get back to work. There's plenty of great functional parts there for them to get it done. You just got to clean some things up, start, a couple of guys got to start swinging it. And these are older guys. They know this, and they know how to hit their way out of it. So,
yeah. Some people in the comments are saying they're blaming me for calling the sweep. So I will lick my wounds on that.
30 lashes with a wet cane.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We got a nice little group in here watching this live stream, so we do appreciate it. We will try to bring you more content this week. We'll probably be talking to Oz sometime this week, so be looking for that on all of our channels. Go follow Glenn's stuff at goldeneaglepride.com. Glenn, you still having your sale? You still got half off or whatever it is?
Yeah, they're going to run it through spring football, and that's coming up soon. So,
yes, and we will cover that as well as we can. But obviously, I think it's safe to say that I know about as much as the team as our listeners do at this point. So
it won't take us long to get up to speed.
That's true.
It happens when you have 60 new players every year. So
no doubt. We'll just have to, look at that roster and over a meal at Glory Bound, who still does not sponsor us, unfortunately. So
righto.
You can follow all my coverage at the Pine Belt News, HubCitySpokes.com/sports. We do appreciate everybody tuning in today. Subscribe, like, comment, whatever you would like to do. Share this podcast. We do appreciate it. Our numbers keep going up, and we can't be more grateful to you for that. For now, Glenn Dyer of 247 Sports. I'm Dewey Mixon. Southern Miss drops the weekend series at Arkansas State. They will be back on the road on Tuesday night down in Gulfport to face the mighty Nichols Colonels. Colonels, the mighty, who have beaten Southern Miss 3 out of the last 4 times. So
I would call them pesky.
The mighty pesky Colonels. Well, I hope you enjoy that game, and we will see you afterwards to recap it all here at A View from the Press Box. For Glenn Dyer, I'm Dewey Mixon, and that was A View from the Press Box.